The impact I wanted to have, I realized, would be strengthened or magnified by having a PhD. I'd always wanted to do a PhD. I'm the first in family to graduate from high school and even, and then of course go on to uni. And I don't know, it just seemed an important point, personally to achieve. I felt that if I worked in international development, that could be an area to make a contribution. I was president of Students for International Development while I was an undergrad, then decided to do a master's in the social sciences to kind of combine the human and the environmental components. Along the way, I continued to work in the US and in Africa. I'd seen, particularly with a project I was on in Mali in West Africa, the impact that conflict had on development, childhood nutrition, education, of course, economic aspects of development as well. And so I felt that would be a field for me. The impact I wanted to have, I realized, would be strengthened or magnified by having a PhD. I was on a Rotary Peace Fellow program. So I began in Paris and then transferred from there on the same fellowship to the University of Queensland. We had our first child right after I finished my master's, just before I started the PhD. Trying to work, do a PhD, raise little children. It was worth it, but it was very, very, very tough. When I finished my PhD, my wife and I were still married, still loved each other. That was the most important thing. It wasn't the PhD. And so I still say it's our PhD. So I do a lot of consulting on developing dialogue programming and community engagement work with different organizations. And I do some publishing. I have a book chapter and an edited book coming out here. But I'm hoping to return to university. Heading up a center like I did for 10 years there in Brisbane is really where I'd like to be. I think universities traditionally have an important role to play in leadership in communities and in society. Those who are getting PhDs, they're in a special position of leadership, be it within the academy, but also within society more generally. We're the ones who are developing theory that, ideally would impact, influence policy. They say you have to have a PhD by this time in your life. It's just not true. Like I said, I was in my 30s when I started my PhD. It helped me have a bit of perspective that some, don't yet have in life. So don't shy away from it. It's not just valid, it's valuable.